Pretty much ready where you are.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this one's called All the Old Harkening Faces at the Rail. A few of the old liars were cracking it up around the pier when Oliver brought his one-man boat out. He was holding the boat in one hand and the motor in the other. Oliver probably went about 57 or 8. He had stringy hair that used to be romantic looking in the old days, but he still had his muscles for a short guy. "What you got there?" said Smokey. "Are you blind, you muttering old dog? It's a one-man boat," said Oliver. Oliver didn't want to be trouble. "I seen one of them in a Sears book, didn't I? How much that put you back?" "I don't recall ever studying your checkbook," said Oliver. "This man's feisty this afternoon, ain't he?" said a relative newcomer named Ulrich. He was sitting on the rail next to the steps where Oliver wanted to get his boat down them into the water. For a moment, this Ulrich didn't move out of Oliver's way. "You buy it on credit?" Oliver never answered. He stared at Ulrich until the old man moved, then went down the steps with his little boat to the water and eased the thing in. It was fiberglass of a factory hue that has no real color. When Oliver went back up the steps where he'd left the motor, it was brand new. He pondered for a moment. Then he pulled the back of the boat up and screwed on the boat clamps of the motor. It was nifty. You had something ready to go in 5 minutes. All the old liars were peering over the edge at his operation. "Don't you need fuel or a battery?" said Smokey, lifting up his sunglasses. One of his eyes were taped over from cataract surgery. "A man that buys on credit is whipped from the start," said Ulrich. When Oliver looked up the pier on all the old harkening faces at the rail, he felt young in an ancient way. He had talked with his crew many an evening into the night. There was a month there when he thought he was one of them, with his hernia and his sciatica, his lies, and his workman's compensation. Out here with his cheap, roachy lake house on the reservoir that formed out of the big Yazoo. Here Oliver was with his hopeful poverty, his low-rent resort, his wife who never had a bad habit in her life, having died of an unfair kidney condition. All that's unfair, he'd often thought, but he never took it to heart until Juanita passed over to the other side. There was a gallery of pecking old faces scrutinizing him from the rail. Some of them were widowers, too, and some were leaking away toward the great surrender very fast. Their common denominator was that not one of them was honest. They perhaps had become liars by way of joining the evening pier crowd. One old man spoke of the last manly war, America against Spain. Another gummed away about his 30 pints and 15 women one night in Mexico. Oliver had lied, too. He had told them that he loved his wife and that he had a number of prosperous children. Well, he had respected his wife, and when the respect wore off, he had 20 years of habit with her. One thing was he was never unfaithful. And he had one son who was the drum major of the band for Lamar Tech in Beaumont, and who had graduated last year, utterly astonished that his beautiful hair and outgoing teeth wouldn't get him employment. But now I'm in love, thought Oliver. God help me, it's unfair to Juanita in the cold ground, but I'm in love. I'm so warm in love I don't even care what these old birds got to say. "Have you ever drove one of them power boats before, son?" This was asked by Sergeant Fish, who had had some education and was a caring sort of fellow with emphysema. Oliver walked through them, back across the planks of the pier to his car that was parked in the lot at the inn. He opened the trunk of his car and lifted out the battery and the gas can. He managed to hold the marine oil under his armpit. He said something into the car, and then all the men at the end of the pier saw the woman get out of Oliver's Dodge. They walked to him and pulled the marine oil can from under his arm to relieve the load. She was about 35, lean, looked like one of those kind of women over at the Rolling Fork Country Club who might play tennis, drink cokes, and sit around spraddle-legged with their nooks humped out aimless. Jaws were dropped on the end of the pier. Smokey couldn't see that far and was agitated by the groans around him. Sergeant Fish said, "My God, it's Pearl Harbor, summer of '41. When she and Oliver got near enough to Liars, they saw her face, and it was cute. Pinkish big mouth, a jot pinched, but cute, though maybe a little scarred by acne. Oliver rigged up the gas line and mixed the oil into the tank. He attached the battery cables. The woman sat 2 steps above him while he did this alone in the back of the boat. There was one seat in the boat about a yard wide. Oliver floated off a good bit while he was readying the boat. The woman had a scarf on her hair. She sat there and watched him float off 30 feet away as he was getting everything set. Then he pulled the crank on the motor. It took right up, and Oliver was thrown back because the motor was in gear. The boat went out very fast, about 200 yards in the water. Then he got control and circled around and put her back in. The woman got in the boat. She sat in Oliver's lap. He turned the handle, and they scooted away so fast they were almost out of sight by the time one of the Liars got his tongue going. "It was Pearl Harbor, summer of '41, until you saw her complexion," said Sergeant Fish. "I'll bet there was some women in her warrior back then," said the tall, proud man with freckles. He waved his cane. "Rainbow days," lied Fish. "The women were so pretty they slept right in the bed with me and the wife. She forgave me everything. It was just like stroking puppies, all in the color of goldfish." "Can that boat hold the 2 of them?" said Smokey. "As long as it keeps going, it can," said Ulrich, who featured himself as scientist. "Oliver got him a babe," said another liar. "I guess we're all old enough to see fools run their course," said old Dan. Dan was a liar who bored even the pier crowd. He lied about having met great men and what they said. He claimed he had met Winston Churchill. He claimed he was on friendly terms with George Wallace. "You give your right one to have a chance with Oliver's woman, indifferent of face as she is," said Sergeant Fish. "When the motor ever gives out, the whole thing will sink," said Ulrich. They watched a while. Then they all went home and slept.
Do you go to places to try to get a year for that dialect?
No, they come really out of my memory of my youth, hearing older people talk it around these lakes. Yeah. This is from Eagle Lake, where I used to vacation, or not vacation, just fish, near Vicksburg. Yeah.
That's just something that's in you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm more interested in what memory does to the voice than I am in the voice being perfectly duplicated. The memory, as it resonates, you always remember things in a specific musical way that's probably not even real. You know, that's what I like to work with.